Hello, everybody. You know what? Something that's really annoying is when you think you've done a voiceover and it didn't record. This time it is, so we're all good. Welcome back to Lazy PC and welcome back to the play-by-email game of War in the Pacific against Invictus. I hope you're all doing fantastically when this video comes out. Let's jump right into it and see what ends up going on. Hopefully, because I've already done the voiceover, I know what I'm going to talk about, although that's very unlikely. So, we start off with our kind of usual at this point. We have our submarines trying to attack some US destroyers near Pearl Harbor, near Hawaii, and not really doing anything. The US destroyers aren't really doing anything to our submarines, and our submarines aren't really doing anything to the US destroyers. So that's fun. Nothing too exciting there. We have our naval landing at Davao. Carrying on, our destroyer, as you can see here, is providing some cover with its guns. Again, nothing too significant going on there. But, you know, always interesting to see. And again, nighttime. It's kind of annoying nighttime. It seems that the ticks go a bit slower. Again, I don't know if this is a setting that I can change to try and make it a bit better, but it does seem to be an issue. Now, this is something fun. One of our submarine chasers is causing some severe damage to the USS Sargo. This is what we love to see. You know, we really, really love seeing our anti-submarine ships doing major damage to US submarines. We want to do this as often as we can. 5 hits on the Sargo there. We saw that it said severe damage as well. So hopefully that's enough to maybe sink it. But in return, the USS Permit decides that it is going to fire a torpedo at one of our APs. APs are precious to us. We don't like this. Grumble, grumble, grumble. Grr, grr, grr. The AP isn't sunk, so maybe we can get it back to port. And here we see some raids on our Shanghai shipping. Again, rather frustratingly, but even more interestingly, our destroyers and cruisers off the coast of the Philippines have found the PT boats again. Now, they've sunk one and they're trying to shoot the rest, but they don't manage to do anything else. So, one is better than nothing, I suppose, but still frustrating. You know, we still wanted to make sure that we sunk all of them. You know, they've done more damage than I can really get away with. Here we see one of our transport ships, the Shanghai transport ships, getting hit. It seems at first it's just getting hit with 50 caliber machine guns. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And then we see that a torpedo finally does some damage. So F for this ship. Another one of our transport ships going to the bottom of the ocean. Rather frustratingly, particularly because we do have, you know, anti-submarine ships, patrol boats and sub-chasers in this area, but, you know, it's night time. They've got to be in the right place at the right time. There's not too much you can kind of do about it, even though we want to. You know, I want to sink all of the US subs in one day, for them never to turn up again, and, you know, us to live a submarine-free life. Yeah, but that's not going to happen. I am afraid, not for a very, very long time, and not unless we get extremely lucky. So, we move through the night and into the day, where the game moves a little bit faster. We're still going to have some interesting, you know, combat, probably. I'm sure there's going to be a submarine somewhere causing some problems. Who knows? Maybe even one of our submarines. Here we have the USS Salmon being followed by a patrol boat, but not much happening to it. And here we go. One of our submarines causing some damage off of Vancouver Island. So an Allied ship being sunk out there. But it seems that the US submarines heard about this and decided to take matters into their own hands. And the USS Stingray is going to sink one of our light cargo ships using its 3-inch guns. No torpedo hits, but, you know, the 3-inch gun did enough there to do damage, frustratingly. So another cargo ship to the bottom of the sea. You know, it's not even a trade for a trade. So we are kind of seeing that we have a fair amount of spotting going on. Our planes aren't doing too bad. They do have the occasional random sighting. but generally they're doing pretty well. Now, we're carrying on with our bombardment from the air of Nanjing. This is the naval forces, and 180 plus casualties on that raid alone. Some more Bettys coming in, another 78 casualties. We will see some Sallys come in a moment, and it will mean that we'll have over 300 casualties at Nanshan. Now, that is massive. That is the equivalent of a day's combat. It's a day of deliberate combat between units that are, fairly evenly matched. So that is really, really beneficial for us. And it is going to mean that what we're going to do during this turn, when it's our orders phase, and therefore tomorrow in the combat phase, is we're going to attack. We are going to counterattack at Nanshan. See what happens. We might be able to do some significant damage, and maybe get it to a point where Invictus, he already looks like he's considering moving troops out of there, although he does seem to be trying to move them past our units. It looks like he's tried to cross the river and then kept moving. But, with that, victory or with that damage, then we might be able to get some progress going. We see there some Dutch bombers attacking one of our APs that is landing or going to land at Kuching. No damage done, but probably alerting Invictus to where we are. And then we see that a Nell was attacking an S-18 submarine. Good. Our aircraft is doing what we want it to do. They are trying to hit the submarines from the air. This is, it's not necessarily super effective. Often, whenever I've seen that happen, all it actually has done is a little bit of system damage. But it means that if we get it, 3-4 turns in a row, each time doing 7 or 8 system damage, it's going to very quickly tot up to 40-50 system damage, plus the system damage you're just going to get from being out at sea, and that's going to have to cause Invictus to pull his submarines back. He's going to have to take them back to port, and then they're going to be in port for 2, 3, maybe even 4 weeks. So yeah, that would be nice to see. So fingers crossed, and we'll keep an eye on it. But it does fly by pretty quickly, so difficult to see. So our bombardment attack at Nanshang, we can see that the assault values of both us and Invictus' troops are kind of a little bit even there. So giving us more of a belief to carry on with the attack. Crossing the river with the, I'm not sure what unit, but it was following up from basically the first day, and yeah, kind of successfully harassing Chinese troops. Our first assault on Hong Kong doesn't go great, but not too bad. And then the 38th or 39th Division attacking near Cheng Chao. Now, unfortunately, that unit decided to retreat to Cheng Chao, but it does mean that the way is open at Cheng Chao. Now, our plan up there, and we will talk about it in a little bit, is to move the 6th Army so that we can prepare to attack. This is us taking Lingyang in the Philippines, and here is a bombardment attack at Davao. Again, next time we're going to have to change that to be a deliberate assault to capture the port. Chinese bombardment at Nanjing. Again, another little look at how fairly even the assault values are. Probably still a little bit weighted towards the Chinese, but still pretty good for us. And then a few air bases being constructed, and now it's our chance to do some orders. Dun dun dun. Okay, a lot of stuff still happening. There we go, orders time. So I'm gonna have a check on Hong Kong, see how things are. Yep, everything is still deliberately attacking. Good. Now then, Nanchang. Let's try this. Let us set our units to deliberately attack. Again, we could completely ruin our, the work in which the air forces have been doing, but you never know. We'll just have to wait and see. Kind of keeping an eye on what has been going on with that unit that we just defeated. I should have really followed it up, but I didn't. And here we're going to move the 6th Army to its position. So, the plan with the 6th Army, it is offloaded from its transport from Manchuria. About 50,000 units per 50,000 men per division. I think it's about 2 or 3 divisions in the 6th Army. So 30 to 45,000 men plus artillery. We're going to move them to the south of Chengchao. Then what they're going to do is they're going to cross the river, not into Chengchao itself, because that's dumb. Because that will lead to a shock assault, which a shock assault into a heavily defended city is just going to go rough. Urban warfare is bad no matter which way you look at it. Trying to do it while crossing a river, even worse. So we're going to cross the river to the south of Chengchao, kind of on that railway line. And then once we've done that, it will allow us then to attack Chengchao from land, preventing us from doing shock attacks. Fingers crossed, at least. Because otherwise, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare. Now, we are going to move the Sasebo 1st SNLF. What they're going to do is they're going to go to the northern Philippines, and then we're going to prepare them for Baklapan and trying to push into Borneo. Now, Borneo is kind of one of our major targets because of the oil. And I'm just going to kind of have a look at units kind of about, see what's going on with our ships. Where are our patrol boats? And I'm going to send some right to Kota Bharu as well to try and break this blockade, because it's clear what Invictus is doing here. He's got a few submarines just sat just outside the port of Kota Bharu, which is going to make it difficult for me to actually try and get anything over there. So we will try to cover it and get a patrol boat to, again, either sink submarines or cause enough damage that they're going to try and retreat back. Now, at the moment, obviously, Singapore is a base that has a repair shipyard, and there's other, shipyards that these submarines can go to for the time being. So it's not as effective as it will be come later on in the campaign. Now, what we are doing here is we're setting up a new patrol boat group, and we are changing the commander and the captains of the boats. We're adding a bit more aggression into our captains. Now, I've mentioned this over the last few turns and the last few videos that we wanted to do this, and we need to kind of keep an eye on doing this with most of our captains. And here, the reason that we are doing this now is because with that higher aggression, the captains are going to throw their depth charges a lot more. Now, something that we've got to consider is that not only are they going to be throwing more of them, it means that they probably will be wasting them. But I see that as a very handsome payoff for higher chances of damaging US submarines, or Dutch submarines, depending on what it is over here. Now, the thing is the aggression means that they're going to keep chasing, they're going to keep attacking, and obviously using those depth charges. And if a submarine gets into a defensive position, or bottoms out, it's going to be very difficult for our patrol boats to actually do damage with those depth charges. So, you might go, well, you're just kind of wasting your depth charges there. But in the grand scheme of things, all it takes is one depth charge to do significant damage to a submarine to send it back to port. If they are throwing 8, 10 depth charges each time, and they do that for 2 days at a row, and they get one hit, by the time the patrol boats go back, get their depth charges back out at sea, that submarine is long gone. It might not be dead, it might not be at the bottom of the ocean, but it's definitely heading back to port. And that's what we want to do. So, we are going to move some troops towards Clark Field before moving to Manila, but we're going to plan our troops for Manila. Everybody that is kind of pushed up at Lingayen, they're going to move forward. Now, I am using our recon to have a look at what's going on over here. Interestingly, there's a lot of troops at Clark Field, but they seem to be moving to Bataan. In regards to aircraft, there doesn't seem to be a lot. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a load of our bombers to switch from attacking in Nanchang, although it's been going really well, to bombard Clark Field. There's a lot of targets there, so it would be useful to try and hit them in Clark Field. The fact that we don't seem to see a lot of fighters either is also quite nice, and that would, suggest that it means we should have decent air cover. We're still going to have units on escort to make sure that, if there is anything there, we can deal with it. But it should kind of mean we can bombard with no problem. So we will see what happens with that next turn. But yes, be intriguing to see. So we also got some Nels here, just kind of checking that they're still on anti-submarine patrol. And we got some here that are bombarding Nanchang. And we're going to get them to do a full raid on Clark Field. We'll give them a turn with full air wing, and then we'll go back to stuff. Although we may forget to do it, but that's what we're going to do. But yeah, we'll see how things go. And again, checking all these Betty bombers. I want them to do one big, massive raid at Clark Field because it's going to be fun. I do like to do the occasional big old raids and see how it goes. So just having a look at some of our anti-submarine ships, give them a little bit more of a patrol zone to deal with that submarine that we knew had taken out one of our light cargo ships that had been supplying our islands. Give it a bit of react as well, because that's always useful. And then kind of noticing here one of our submarines kind of doing a patrol, or at least the game is saying that it's going to do a patrol around Kyushu, particularly, say, Nagasaki. Now, that kind of got me thinking about something when I was doing the voiceover the first time, that maybe we should use, or could use, submarines in a defensive idea. Now, when I kind of think about it a little bit more, it kind of ends up being even kind of crazier and weirder to me if we are trying to kind of do that, because by having submarines, submarines are tiny, the chances of submarines finding other submarines is very low, but also submarines are really kind of good against other submarines. If a torpedo is going to hit another submarine, that's basically that submarine long gone. It's at the bottom of the ocean. But yeah, I'm less inclined to do that with submarines. In the meantime, what we will do is we'll set some more aircraft to do some anti-submarine patrols from Shanghai. These are some Mabels, planes we don't really use. These are torpedo bombers that came before the Kates. But hey, why not use them for anti-submarine patrol? It seems like the perfect task for some slightly outdated aircraft. That's kind of something that the Allies did as well. So yeah, why can't we do that? So looking around at what else we kind of want to do and move. I'm just kind of looking at where my units are. They're all moving quite nicely. And then we're going to come over to our little islands. See some ships here heading towards Bab el Daub, or however you're going to pronounce that. And we see our landings at Kaveng. And what we will do with Kaveng, we'll do it in a little moment once we move some other troops around, is kind of realize something. Kaveng is undefended at the moment, which is not how it starts at the beginning of the campaign. So, what is going on there? Well, there's a couple of things that could be going on. A, maybe Invictus has moved those troops further down the island and kind of lulling me into a false sense of security. Maybe he thinks I'm just going to leave that island. Two, there's a much more significant base nearby that perhaps he is attempting to fortify. That would be Rabaul. Rabaul is a useful base for the Allies and the Japanese. At the beginning of the game, it's not that well, fortified. It is fairly well, fortified compared to some of the other bases, but it's not massively supported. So if he can get some more troops there, maybe draw in some of the troops from around the other islands, maybe even get a 5th Australian division together. I know I said the 5th, just a Australian division. I think the 5th is something that stood out in my own campaign when I've been playing by myself on stream. But yeah, get a division together. If you can put that in Rabaul, it's going to be really difficult to take. Because, to be honest, I have to take Rabaul before I can go for Port Moresby, before I can go for Australia. So it's in his interest to make that as difficult as it can. Now, troops we know we're going to be sending at Rabaul, at least at this point, is definitely the 144th Regiment. So that's about 2,500 combat infantry, as well as a few Naval Guard units, which I think each of those are about 1,000 infantry as well. So if I remember rightly, I think we were planning to do about 3 or 4 Naval Guard units. So overall, about 6,000 infantry. That's still, however, less than a division. That's about half a division, plus whatever else is there in Rabaul. So what we're going to do is we are going to get a naval airbase unit from Truk. We've got a couple here, and we're going to get one of them to send some units to Caving. They're going to set up and prepare the airfield. I think there's already an airfield there, but we will double check. And it's going to basically be home to one of our recon squadrons, and we're going to check Caving and check what's from Caving, check Rabaul, see what's there. Then we'll kind of see what's going on around New Britain, etc. as well, just to kind of keep an eye on things. Because I am kind of a meticulous planner. I'm to kind of be a bit self-critical, I'm almost like a scared cat, okay, with committing troops. I will commit troops where I need to, and I know that I have these objectives I need to take. But I have been on the wrong end of kind of jumping in to, not well enough planned offensives and, engagements. So me and OCB, we were chatting and we were comparing how we're, two very different players. OCB is very aggressive. He compared himself to Patton or Guderian, whereas I, on the other hand, is more like Harold Alexander, the British commander, in the fact that I don't really do anything without a lot of planning and making sure that I know exactly what I'm going up against, or at least know what I'm going up against as much as I can. And when OCB said that, I was like, he's maybe thinking that he's got time to do this and time to do that, so maybe he hasn't done things that he wants to do, and I'm going to try and catch him off guard. And about that, I tried that and tried to send some units forward, tried to catch him off guard. It didn't go very well. Without proper planning, I lost a whole regiment of infantry. Not good. So against Invictus, who has played a few more play-by-email games and is probably expecting certain things, he's going to be trying to defend in certain ways. So, I kind of want to know what is happening before it happens. That is the way I see things. So we're going to move a recon squadron. I believe this is the ones we're going to send to, move its way down towards Caving, where it's going to land. So we're going to send it to Legate Spy first, and then on to Babeldaub, and so on and so forth. It's just going to kind of hop its way over, which shouldn't be too much of a problem. So, anywhere else we need to check? Kind of looking around. Yeah, we can see that those aircraft have landed there, no problem. They do probably need more aviation support, but they're only staying there for one day. They're not going to do any work. Although I may forget to move them, so I might need to do that the next time. Our other invasions are on their way, which is pretty good. So yeah, generally everything is going pretty well. So just going to see if we did sink the Sargo last turn, as well as there's any information on the battleships. And there we go, we can see that the Sargo is reported to us as being sunk, as well as the Shark that we sunk with a torpedo earlier in the campaign. Of course, that sheet is not, 100% honest and always true, but it is always kind of interesting to see. We got some transport ships there, sending some troops to Patini with some sub-chasers in them. Now, once they've done their movings and stuff, I might get those sub-chasers to kind of patrol in the South China Sea to see what we can spot and see what we can try to sink. So, a quick check of the weather and see it's pretty crap over the Philippines, but everywhere else seems fine. Did click on ops by accident. I'm going to click on signal intelligence. I'm going to get told twice that there's heavy volume of radio transmissions at Pearl Harbor. You don't say. Anyway, leave it here, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. See you in the next one. Bye!